In the quiet town of Rome, Georgia, on a cold November morning in 2022, a tow truck winched a blue Toyota Prius from a muddy creek behind Heritage Park. The car's lights were on, but its engine was silent, abandoned in neutral as if it had been deliberately rolled into the ditch. "There's no acceleration marks, no signs of a crash," an officer muttered, his breath visible in the chilly air. "It's like someone just left it here." The vehicle belonged to Aaron Davis, a 21-year-old recent college graduate with a bright future, last seen visiting his lifelong friend, Brandon Risner. For true crime enthusiasts who crave a story that unravels the darkest corners of human nature, this chilling tale of betrayal will grip you, revealing how a single night turned a celebration into a nightmare. Stay with us, or you'll miss the shocking clues that transformed a missing person case into a hunt for a cold-blooded killer. Background and setup: Aaron William Davis was a young man who radiated promise. A recent graduate of Brigham Young University, Idaho with a degree in political science, Aaron was known for his loud shirts, quick wit, and a kindness that drew people to him like moths to a flame. "He was the glue in our family," his father, Randy Davis, said, his voice heavy with pride and grief. Aaron, a devout member of The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, had just aced the GACE, Georgia's graduate school admission test, on November 11, 2022. Excited about his future, whether in teaching or law, he set out from his home in Cumming, Georgia, to visit his girlfriend in Alabama. But first, he made a stop in Rome, roughly 60 miles away, to reconnect with his childhood friend, Brandon Risner. Brandon and Aaron's friendship stretched back to middle school. They'd grown up together in Cumming, attended the same church, and even collaborated on quirky YouTube short films titled Brandon Rising. To Aaron's family, Brandon was practically a son. "I've cooked thousands of dinners for him," Aaron's mother, Sandy Davis, later told a courtroom, her voice trembling with betrayal. "He was part of our family, but beneath this bond, something darker simmered in Brandon." At 23, he had drifted from the shared path he and Aaron once walked. After a single semester at BYU Idaho in 2021, Brandon returned to Rome, where he worked as a scare actor at a haunted house in Canton, Georgia. His social media showed a young man who loved performing, singing, playing guitar, and embracing the theatrical. Yet, there were signs of turmoil. Brandon struggled with anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and, according to his parents, undiagnosed mental health issues that had begun to surface. Rome, Georgia, a small town nestled between Atlanta and Chattanooga, was an unlikely backdrop for horror. Its quiet streets and close-knit community made the discovery of Aaron's abandoned car all the more jarring. On November 12, 2022, at 10:41 a.m., Rome police responded to a report of a vehicle in a ditch behind the levee at Heritage Park. The car was Aaron's, but he was nowhere to be found. His family, alarmed that he hadn't reached Alabama, contacted police. He was overdue to meet friends, Randy Davis told officers, his worry palpable. His phone's going straight to voicemail. The stage was set for a mystery that would soon unravel into something far more sinister. The crime: on the evening of November 11, 2022, Aaron arrived at Brandon's family home on Collinwood Road. Brandon's parents were out of town, leaving the two friends alone to celebrate Aaron's recent successes. The night began innocently enough. They headed to an outdoor beer garden along the Etowah River, a popular spot in downtown Rome. Brandon, who had taken to drinking, ordered high alcohol content beers. For Aaron, a teetotaler who rarely drank, this was an unusual choice. Aaron didn't drink, Floyd County Assistant District Attorney Leah Mayo later told a courtroom. This was Brandon's idea. Back at the house, they shared a bottle of red wine, singing karaoke and laughing into the night. At 9:57 p.m., Aaron sent a final text to his girlfriend, Charlie Girl Schellinger, a message filled with the warmth and optimism that defined him. What happened next would shatter the lives of everyone connected to Aaron. Sometime after midnight, as Aaron slept in an upstairs guest bedroom, Brandon's demeanor shifted. He retrieved a sharp knife from the kitchen, crept through the silent house, and entered Aaron's room. The attack was brutal and unrelenting. Brandon stabbed Aaron 40 times, the blade tearing through flesh and bone, splattering blood across the ceiling and soaking the carpet. Aaron was killed on the bed, Mayo recounted, her voice steady but grim. Then he was dragged into the bathroom. His blood was found on the shower door, the walls, everywhere. The violence didn't end there. In a horrifying act, Brandon disemboweled Aaron, removing a portion of his small intestines. He wrapped Aaron's body in the blood-soaked bedsheets and moved it to a remote location off Tumlin Drive, where he buried it in a shallow, unmarked grave beneath a fallen oak tree. As dawn broke, Brandon began covering his tracks. He used Aaron's phone to send deceptive texts to Charlie Girl and Aaron's family, claiming Aaron was still at the house or had changed his plans. He cleaned the guest room with an arsenal of chemical supplies, trying to erase the bloodstains that told a gruesome story. But the scene was too chaotic, the evidence too overwhelming. When police arrived later that day, the chemical smell was overpowering, and the locked doors in the house raised immediate red flags. The investigation began as a missing person case but quickly escalated into something far darker. After finding Aaron's car in the creek, Rome police contacted Brandon, who claimed Aaron had gotten sick from drinking and left in the early hours. "We started drinking around noon," Brandon told Lieutenant Sailors over the phone, his voice calm but oddly detached. "He was throwing up pretty bad, told me to leave him alone. I woke up around 1 or 2 a.m., and his car was gone." His story seemed plausible, until officers arrived at his home on Collinwood Road. The house search revealed a chilling scene. In the guest bedroom, officers found bloodstains on the carpet and walls, far more than could be explained by vomiting. "This isn't just vomit," an officer noted, pointing to a puddle near the bed. "This is blood, and it's been here a while." Cleaning supplies were scattered everywhere, and the strong scent of chemicals suggested a frantic attempt to cover up evidence. When Brandon was asked to open the locked door to Aaron's room, his behavior grew erratic. As officers pressed for answers, he bolted, leaping over a fence and disappearing into the neighborhood. The manhunt for Brandon was intense. Police canvassed the area, knocking on doors and interviewing neighbors. One neighbor, mid-conversation, handed an officer a phone connected to Brandon's father, Jeremy Risner. "I don't know where he is," Jeremy said, his voice strained. "I thought he was at home." Jeremy and his wife were an hour away, unaware of the gravity of the situation. But as police continued their search, Jeremy's cooperation took a troubling turn. He found Brandon's phone at the house but hesitated to turn it over. "My gut says yes," he told an officer, "but I need to understand what's going on. What Jeremy saw on that phone would change everything." The phone contained a series of disturbing notes written by Brandon. One read, "His scream became a gargle as he swallowed his tongue." Another described dark, chaotic thoughts. "I like dark places where my mind melts. My brain's a waterfall running out of my nose like drool." Most damning was a to-do list outlining Brandon's actions post-murder. Schedule last 3 songs, vacuum, laundry, shower, text Rachel that Aaron threw up horribly. These notes painted a portrait of a deeply troubled mind, one that had meticulously planned the crime. "I believe Brandon carefully planned Aaron's murder," Sandy Davis later told the court, her voice breaking. "He was calculating, even suggesting Aaron was suicidal to throw us off." An hour after finding the phone, Jeremy's demeanor shifted. He called police, revealing that he had located Brandon and was bringing him to the station. At 5 p.m. on November 12, Brandon surrendered, accompanied by his parents. In the interrogation room, Detective York read Brandon his Miranda rights. "I'd like a lawyer," Brandon said, his voice steady, shutting down any chance of a confession. But his parents were more forthcoming. Jeremy revealed a critical lead. Aaron's body was likely in a cemetery off Tumlin Drive, near an overturned tree. "He told us where to find him," Jeremy said, his voice heavy with disbelief. Police descended on the cemetery, a secluded spot in Old East Rome. There, beneath a fallen oak, they found Aaron's body, wrapped in the sheets from Brandon's guest room, buried in a shallow grave. The autopsy confirmed the horror. Aaron had been stabbed 40 times, disfigured, and disemboweled. Forensic experts later testified that the blood patterns in the guest room matched a violent, prolonged attack. DNA evidence linked Brandon to the scene, and the knife, recovered from the house, bore traces of Aaron's blood. As the investigation deepened, questions arose about Brandon's motives. His parents spoke of his mental health struggles, diagnosed OCD, anxiety attacks, and suicidal tendencies. He was having visions, Jeremy told police, describing Brandon's return from college after a breakdown. Prosecutors, however, pointed to a darker explanation. He had been thinking about this since early fall, Assistant DA Leah Mayo said. He claimed a prophecy told him to either kill his best friend or sleep with his stepmother. He chose Aaron. Whether driven by mental illness or a fascination with serial killers and murder fantasies, Brandon's actions were premeditated, prosecutors argued, citing his deceptive texts and cleanup efforts. Outcome and aftermath. On June 20, 2024, Brandon Risner pleaded guilty to 12 charges, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, concealing the death of another, abandonment of a dead body, theft by taking, and misdemeanor counts of removing body parts, tampering with evidence, and obstruction. His trial, originally set for June 24, was preempted by the plea. On July 18, 2024, Floyd County Superior Court Chief Judge John Jack Niedrach sentenced Brandon to life in prison without parole, rejecting his attorney's request for a 30-year sentence with parole eligibility. The sentencing hearing was an emotional reckoning. Aaron's family delivered heart-wrenching victim impact statements. "Aaron was my son and a friend to all," Randy Davis told the court, his voice cracking. "He worked too hard to be where he was that day." Charlie Girl Schellinger, Aaron's girlfriend, described collapsing outside a gas station when she learned of his death. "I never got to say goodbye," she said, tears streaming. "I kissed a cold casket, hoping he knew how much I loved him." A poster of Aaron, vibrant and smiling, was displayed in the courtroom, a stark contrast to the grim proceedings. Brandon's parents, too, spoke, torn between love for their son and horror at his actions. "My child is kind and loving, but he suffers from a severe mental illness," his mother, Jenny Lee, sobbed. "I still can't believe he could do this." Jeremy Risner pleaded for leniency, citing Brandon's lack of prior violence. But Assistant DA Mayo was unyielding. "He showed no remorse," she said. After killing Aaron, he sang along to the radio like nothing was wrong. Judge Niedrach, moved by the Davis family's pain, sided with the prosecution. "The Davis family's loss is unfathomable," he said. "Justice requires life without parole." The case sent shockwaves through Rome and beyond. Media outlets, from local papers like the Rome News Tribune to national platforms like Court TV, covered the story extensively. Aaron's death became a symbol of betrayal, a reminder that evil can lurk in the closest of relationships. A GoFundMe raised funds to bury Aaron in his family's plot in Massachusetts, reflecting the community's outpouring of support. "He was a light," a friend wrote on Facebook. "A philosopher, an artist, a hopeless romantic." The Davis family, devastated, vowed to honor Aaron's memory by advocating for mental health awareness, hoping to prevent similar tragedies. Closing reflection. The murder of Aaron Davis is a haunting reminder that even in the safest communities, darkness can hide behind familiar faces. Brandon Risner's betrayal, killing his best friend in a calculated, brutal act, leaves us grappling with uncomfortable questions. Was it mental illness, as his parents claimed, or a chilling fascination with violence that drove him? The truth may lie in the shadows of his cryptic notes, but one thing is clear. Aaron's bright future was stolen, leaving a void that no courtroom verdict can fill. As we reflect on this tragedy, we're left to wonder, how well do we truly know those closest to us?